Listen up. Be you. You got this. I said it before, and I'll say it again. Keto, rock stars, stay strong. Be you. Bacon, beef, butter. Keto rock stars. Keto rock stars. Keto rock stars. Keto on, stay strong. Be you. Keto rock stars.
Welcome, everybody, to the first Coach's Corner. And I have Coach Dustin, Keto Simple, and Coach Julia Edens, who you all know, most of you know who both of these are. Thank you for joining me today. The first thing I want to say is nothing we are talking about today is medical advice. It is just our personal opinions and our personal experience from ourselves and working with others and what we have seen. So please, if you need medical advice, consult with your doctor because that is definitely not us, right? And today I picked a topic for all of us to talk about, and it's one that's near and dear to my heart, which is cortisol and stress. And maybe that is because this is the most I know what to do and I know how to deal with cortisol and stress, but do I necessarily even do that as a coach? Probably not the best. So I wanted to have a couple of my expert friends come on and talk about this topic because I think it's important. In my personal opinion, I don't think we can deal with some of our other goals, whether it's weight loss, you know, feeling better, inflammation, until we tackle this topic. So, what I'd like you guys to do is just to do a brief introduction of who you are, and then we'll get right into the topic. Starting with Juliet. Juliet, give us a brief introduction of who you are.
Hi, Amy. Thanks for having me on. And happy Easter, everybody. Coach Juliet Edens is my YouTube channel. I recently, back in October, finished up the Kilt course for coaching, as well as, along with everyone on the screen, we finished the Dr. Kim Berry's PhD program. And it was a tough one. I can be found on Facebook as well as at Coach Juliet Edens. And to keep it simple, in my mind, that's my website, my coaching website. It's coachjulietedens.com.
Thank you. And Dustin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Dustin, and I run Keto Simple YouTube channel. I'm a newly graduated PhD coach with the Dr. Barry coaching program with Nisha and Kim Howerton and Coach Alyssa. It's an interesting experience. I'm excited to get started, excited to see where that takes me, and I'm excited to be here with you guys today.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, so we're going to get right into the topic, and I'm going to ask some questions that I've written down. And feel free to deviate from those questions if you guys have something else you want to say. Um, again, this is important to me personally, just because I deal with this a lot. I have a lot on my plate, and I think that this topic might be beneficial to others who are experiencing some of the things that I've seen. So my first question is, and we can just go around the table. What are some of the early signs that cortisol or stress levels might be chronically elevated? What is your opinion as a coach? And we'll start with Juliet on this one.
Yay. Um, let's see, chronic, and I'm glad you said chronically because cortisol actually is pretty good for us when it's not chronically elevated. So when we wake up, it sets us in gear. It actually starts the fat burning process. So it's a really good thing. But chronically, some of the signs I see because clients often enter with weight loss. That's the entry point for many. And so initial success, and then they're in a weight loss stall. Also, you'll talk to some clients, not that I have a whole lot, they're mainly from the gym face to face. You can hear it in their voice when they tell you, when you say run down your daily activities, you can tell it in their voice, in their mannerism, and also because they tell you, I am stressed out all the time. So the easy one first sign is you have that stress in your life, you know you're stressed. It's not just I'm a type A. I used to say this, I'm a type A, that's just my personality. I don't
Me
sleep,
too.
and I love this about myself. I have so much energy, but it was killing me. It was making me sick. Um, Getting back to the question, so I think one of the easiest signs if you're in a weight loss stall and you're doing your way of eating right, we always like to say, well, I'm doing everything right. Well, there's a number of triggers to pull, but one of the easiest ones in my mind is cortisol and the steps to get that down, that chronic cortisol down.
Mm.
I I I experience it myself. I measure it through my ketone and glucose monitors. That's another way of clear measurement when you see that happening. And not to jump the gun because you didn't ask the question, but I just want to speak what I've done for myself is, and you know this, Amy, I take time every day from my daytime job, which is stressful, and I go outside. That's it, the end. Luckily, it's been, except for last night, tornadoes, it's been sunny in Missouri in the day, and I will sit outside and relax for 10 minutes in the sun with the sun on my body.
Yep.
I also, in between, I hope work's not watching. I also take out, it's about 15.
Nobody's watching yet.
I do my Pilates in the day as well. Like, I do movement, and when I do the Pilates or I lay out in the sun, I'm pointing to my window, lay out in the sun, I do breathing techniques that I learned from DC. All just some small things that are actually an enjoyable habit. So the habits sometimes are hard to get into, and then when you do, like shutting off those electronics by
Yes.
8 PM, I did it for 2 weeks, and man, I was running great, and then I fell off the habit, and then got
It's
into
hard.
yeah, so
So, so Dustin, what do you have to add to that, or what is your thoughts on what the early signs of someone's like chronic cortisol or stress levels? What could those look like?
I think before we start seeing like the stalls and the weight gain, I think we start seeing things like trouble falling asleep, trouble staying asleep. We
Mhm.
see, uptick in anxiety. Are we feeling on edge? I mean, are we relying too much on our devices? I mean, these days it's very easy to get wrapped up in a lot of things that we have zero
mhm,
control over that can just throw our cortisol through the roof. So how do we first off see those early signs, and then how do we mitigate it? Like what Juliet says is go outside, do Pilates. I don't even know what Pilates is, but um but just the idea of getting outside, getting some rest, getting some zero screen time, whether it's with family, by yourself, whatever it is, whatever you need to do to wind down, I think is hugely important. Because I think for someone like me, reliance on caffeine, and you'll see increased cravings and things like that. So I think those
Yes.
are some, very, very valid early signs of elevated cortisol.
mhm,
Yes. So, to add to that, that's very good. You just brought up the one thing that I think affects me the most, which is cravings. And I'm struggling because I everyone knows I have a lot on my plate, right? I am going from 8 in the morning until like sometimes midnight, just nonstop doing something. And no relaxation time. And the thing that I see the most with myself is late night cravings. Even on a clean carnivore diet, I find myself going for bacon and hard boiled eggs at 10, 11 o'clock at night because I'm like, I got to sit down to do this one last thing instead of going to bed. I'm like, just got to get one more thing done. I got to get this done by tomorrow. And so that stress, it's like, oh, but I need comfort. I need comfort to get this last thing done.
mhm,
Right. And so I find the cravings is the big thing for me. The other thing is the extreme exhaustion, wired but tired feeling. I like to call it wired but tired feeling. Like I could be so tired that I go to lay down and then I'm laying there. I'm like, wide awake. I'm like, I was just so exhausted. Why can I not fall asleep? So, and then the screen thing, right? And we all know that I'm the worst culprit of getting into our beloved late night Barbara's crochet corner. I have to go to that bed with that every night, and I probably should just turn the screen down and not even have it on, right? Just get rid of the
Yeah.
screen. So those are the things that I personally experience. And so when I work with a client, I want to kind of bring up with them how much technology time they're on because people don't even realize that they may be and that in itself can cause stress. If they're seeing things on the internet that maybe cause anxiety, that could contribute to that. But when they say they don't have time to work out or they don't have 10 minutes to get on a treadmill, it's like, okay, let's let's record how much time you're on the electronics and see if we can replace 10 to 15 minutes of that with a walk or, whatever thing you have in your home that or outside of your home now that the weather's starting to break, that you
Mhm.
can go do. So that's my opinion.
Or iPhones,
Um,
or I guess all phones, they give you that weekly usage time,
yes.
and when I was shocked prior to YouTube and everything, I'm like, "Wow, I do a lot." Now it's catastrophic numbers. I'm like, it puts in perspective when you see in black and white or whatever colors from your usage. And I'm like, "Oh," scrolling and watching YouTube, and it's just like, what would life be like if I devoted that a fourth of that time to walking, spending time with family, not doom scrolling or getting annoyed by the topic of the day on
Yes.
YouTube about what I'm doing wrong on carnivore. It's very eye-opening, but as you said, these habits can be hard. We're coaches, but I don't think any of us claim like, "Oh, I do everything I preach." Uh,
No, nobody's perfect. Dustin
right.
will be the first to say this too. He's like, if you're perfect, you're lying, right?
Yeah,
You're the
and
first.
I think that makes you not a good coach if you don't experience
No,
some of this stuff and struggle through, making for ourselves those mistakes and trying to build new
right.
habits and then falling off the new habits and getting back on because that's life.
It is life, and if you hire I'm gonna tell the audience, if you hire a coach and they say they're perfect, you probably should look for a different coach because nobody's perfect, and many of us coaches have gone through or are going through. I am struggling right now with weight gain, uh, some thyroid up and down issues, sleep issues, trying to get all the tools programmed for my coaching business, and that
Mm.
stuff keeps me up late at night. And so, yeah, I'm struggling too. So if you hire a coach and they tell you everything's great, it's they're lying and you maybe look for someone who's a little bit more real and honest, in my opinion. That is my opinion. So awesome. Okay, so another question, and we're gonna start with Dustin this time. Uh, let's see. Okay. In your experience, talking to people and coaching clients, what lifestyle habit contributes the most to elevated stress levels? And we've kind of
Well,
touched on this a little bit,
yeah.
but
So for me, being a new coach, I don't really have any clients. I don't really have a lot of experience out of the gate here, but I would say one of the things that I think that we talk about when it comes to the habits that help us with our stress the most, I think is just being sedentary. And I'm guilty of this. I'm
yep.
I'm here sitting at a desk right now. Um, and then a little later, my daughter's gonna come bring me the granddaughter, and I'm gonna take a nap. I'm just not going to do anything today. But, I think being sedentary, not getting up and moving, not getting up and walking, not having a lot to do. I think for me, I'm stuck in the house all the time. If I'm not at the grocery store, I'm not walking. So that increases stress. Those things can do just getting out and moving around is going to be a huge factor and a big benefit for everybody.
I agree. I agree. And that's the number one thing I had on my answers was being sedentary. I have another thing to add to that, but I'm gonna turn it over to Juliet next to provide your answer.
Sure. I have to add, in my limited experience, because I finished in October and then worked with the gym first, so they're through a local gym with women. Um, I I have to tell you, cortisol and those type of words and discussions are the last thing I get to because people come to us. We'll find many people coming to us. I need weight loss. We see the signs of insulin resistant stress, things like that. So I 100% agree with Justin. Without talking about cortisol, some people don't want to hear all
Right.
that, and we've learned so much, we forget how sometimes we talk. Like for us, cortisol and keto, whatever are common words, but for the everyday person, they're not. So I'm like Dustin. One of the first baby steps anyone could take, whether we're you know giving them 2 baby steps, maybe get rid of seed oils, and this week, walk 10 minutes. And for some people, that is 10 minutes. And do it, 5 days a week and build from there. But Dustin's 100% right. The start, like for getting down that stress, is movement, any kind of movement.
Yeah, it doesn't even
And
have to be 10,000 steps a day like we hear, the
no,
10,000 steps a day.
no.
I mean, just walk to the end of your driveway and back.
Yeah.
Something.
And that's where many people, as we know, start. I made it to the end of my driveway and let it be good enough. Or if you walked at all 5 minutes around the cul-de-sac, you did it. And that's better than last week. That I just try to do that for myself. Be okay with the baby steps where I'm going.
I agree. I have one thing to add to that. Um, One thing that really helped me, and again, those are the first two things. The two things you mentioned are the two things I wrote down, and then there's a third one that I wrote down too, is find time for like a hobby. So whether it's making music, and Julia, I know you play piano, and I started to get back into that, but sometimes, whatever your hobby is, making music, singing. Singing also helps get oxygen into the brain too. So if you're anybody, even if you're not a good singer, just sing a song, for a few minutes. The one thing that really helped me recently, and I gotta think again, Barbara, I don't know why I keep going back to her,
Yeah,
but
me
she
too.
got me back into crocheting. And, I've crocheted for 20 years, so it's like something mindless that I can do that I know how now, obviously, if you're a new crocheter, or it might be a little frustrating while you're learning, but once you get to the point where you can just pick something up and do it. Painting, I know Alia does painting, and, I've done painting before too. I'm not quite as good as that, but that is stress. So find maybe a half an hour or 15 minutes where you can just sit down and do the thing that relaxes you, even if it's right before bed, would probably, in my opinion, be the best because it clears the mind, it clears the anxiety, and I have found that reintroducing some of those things instead of doing all this work stuff that I'm trying to get done before bed, just make a little time right before bed and do that thing for even if it's just a short period, it doesn't have to be an hour. I have found that that really is an amazing thing to help with stress relief and even sleep. I don't know what you guys think about that, but that's another thing that I would add to that. Oh, we lost
I think
Juliet. Hold on.
she may be stuck.
Yes, hold on. I'm gonna do this and then we're gonna bring her back on. Okay, there she is. You there, Juliet? We got
See,
you
for
back.
me, you guys froze. Was it on my end?
I think so, because Dustin and I were okay.
Yeah,
But that's
we
okay,
had
you're
the
back.
storms. It's still storming out. I don't know if that has anything. Sorry.
It's
It's
storming here
okay.
too. So it may happen to me.
Yeah, it is here too. So
We're
You're
all
a
in the
good
we
Midwest.
all
editor.
we're all in the same boat. Okay, next question, and we'll go to Juliet first on this one.
Uh-oh.
Actually, I think we've already talked about this one, so we can come back to it. Okay, so let's do this one. Many people try to manage stress with diet, right? What nutritional approaches or foods can help support healthy cortisol levels in your opinion, Juliet?
Yeah, well, you know what I'm going to say. I think nutrition alone misses the mark on stress regulation. But of course, with inflammation, I'm switching gears on you. You know, the first thing with Kilt's health coach, I'm a carnivore coach. With local, I'm a coach, and I don't label the diets first of all. But with every client, get rid of the seed oils and let's reduce processed food, and then eliminate processed food. Uh, you'll be surprised, or you guys probably already know, many clients will come to us not even understanding added sugars. I do have a sugar, weaning off sugar class, don't know how to read labels, things like that. So
Yes.
the very basics of where I start, which will impact everything eventually, inflammation, cortisol, everything, is those two things. Like, let's start right here as far as nutrition is related to all the, elevated cortisol and everything. Get rid of this stuff. I don't label their diet. If they end up eating, meat-based, healthy animal fats and love their veggies, I will do the old stay away from spinach. I will do the oxalate thing, as does the owner of the gym. Um, so just getting them on those right beginnings and not cutting off their sugar and things too quickly. We as keto people, and then many of us carnivore, we sort of weaned into it by putting our feet in the water of keto and then carnivore. But people like off the street or that you may find on your website aren't even there yet. So like I said, that cortisol and other conversations are way out there. And it's not sneaky, but we talk about, stress without too much education if they don't want to hear it,
Right.
because some
Right.
people,
They
and you
don't.
kind of know, some people will just go, sometimes like when I watch Dr. Bickman, he's so high level that I'm like, I don't know what he's saying right now. So I don't want to do that to people, but yeah, nutrition's just the foundation for all the topics.
I agree. I agree. What about you, Dustin? What is your thoughts on nutrition and stress? Does nutrition affect cortisol levels, and what, in your opinion, would you recommend as far as diet and cortisol, or do you think it's more independent of the food?
Well, they're definitely tied to each other. Okay. So we're looking at, the same thing that Julia touched on, the refined sugars, refined ultra processed foods. Because what happens when we start getting stressed out? Cortisol rises, we reach for these foods, right? So I mean, and I'm just the same. I'm just as guilty. And we have to hope try to find a way to slip in that education. Are we getting enough electrolytes? Are we getting our sodium, potassium, magnesium? Are we eating the whole foods? Are we getting the healthy fats? Are we able to help mitigate that stress of the hunger and such by trying to incorporate like the natural satiety signalings and kind of rebuilding those? Um, I think, I mean, what we eat, how we eat, when we eat is so tied into how we feel, but
Mhm.
the average person just has no understanding of that, and they can't comprehend it because everything has been so food doesn't matter. Eat what you want. If you feel bad, we'll get you this pill. I think
Yep.
that's the uphill battle, I think, for us as far as nutrition and cortisol and just being patient and understanding that the average person has no idea whether it's, we're talking about added sugar, no added sugar, still having lots of sugar. These terms that get sold to our masses just don't really explain anything to anybody. So yes, long story short, yes, I feel that our diets are directly impacting our cortisol, our sleep, not getting enough electrolytes, not getting enough movement. All of it is all compressed in and really does impact our overall health.
I agree. And to add to that, one thing that I personally have been playing around with, because I've been very transparent about doing protein sparing modified fasting for 4 years, and that's like basically a low fat carnivore, right? And it worked until it didn't work anymore. And after 4 years, I started feeling brain fog again and exhaustion, even though it's like I'm eating clean, I'm just eating chicken breasts and egg whites, right? And
Mhm.
so people are like, well, you're not doing it hard enough. You're not carnivoring hard enough, or you're not doing this hard enough, which is in many cases ridiculous. People are doing everything right and they can still have issues. I'm an example of that. So I started to gain weight even on low fat carnivore, and then I switched to high fat carnivore. And I'm still gaining weight, but I'm not freaking out about it because I feel better. So I think one thing that might help, and we can quote Elizabeth Bright on this or whatever, but is adding animal fats, like tweaking those fats up because fat, from what I have been reading about, regulates your hormones, whether it's your sex hormones or your stress hormone. So if someone comes to me and they're not feeling well and they're eating clean, and I would have them track their macros. I know people don't want to do this, but sometimes it's important if they're doing everything right. Um, and let's maybe throw slowly, and it doesn't have to be like, okay, let's eat 2 sticks of butter now, right? But let's just tweak it up, tweak it up, tweak it up until maybe they start to see things happen, or maybe it's the fact that this happened to me too. I started snacking on things that maybe weren't as desirable on my non-PSMF days, like Quest chips. Quest chips are full of seed oils, right? There's products out there that while they're protein forward, supposedly, they're not clean. And so when I started tracking again, it really brought some things to mind that, oh, I was doing some things that maybe if I stop, things will turn around, and it did. So that's just something that I would add.
And before we move on, I would like to get a high level clarification when you're talking about the protein sparing modified fast and switching from that into a high fat carnivore. Now, the question I would like to see a clarification on for people who may not know what you're talking about. We understand
Yeah.
that it's a protein sparing modified fast, so basically just low fat meat based. But wasn't that something that's cyclic? Is that something that you were doing every day, or was that something you were
Yeah.
doing 1 day on, 2 days off? I think just to clarify
Yes.
for people who may not know
Yes.
what you're talking about.
Thank you. Yes. So, protein sparing modified fasting, first of all, the history of it was used in the 80s by bodybuilders. I think some bodybuilders actually developed it, and then the Emirates kind of resurrected it. And so they actually have a calculator that you can use where you put in your height, your weight, everything, and it calculates your macros for you. And they do not recommend doing it more than 3 times a week, right? This is just a tool to use if you're stalled or if, you're not getting the results you want. And so I used it twice through the 8 years that I've been keto carnivore. The first time I used it, I lost 20 pounds, um, after being stalled for 2 years. Okay, so I wanted to lose some additional weight. I found this, and I only did it between 1 to 2 days a week. So I would pick 2 days a week, and I would eat, I think it was under 10 grams of fat, or 10 or 20 grams of fat. The calculator calculates your level of fat, right? It's very low fat, very low carb, and then high protein. It's called protein sparing modified fast because it's essentially a pure protein day is what it is. That's what that means. But they do not recommend you do it. You do not want to do it every day of the week. So I would alternate like 2 days a week. I would do that. And then the other days of the week, I could eat whatever I wanted ketogenic, right? And it worked for me. And then I quit after I got down to my goal weight, and then the weight returned. So I wanted to do it again. And this time I did it for 4 years. 1 to 3
Wow.
days a week. For 4 years, I would just eat a protein day or 2 or 3 depending on, and honestly, this is probably terrible of me, but the scale would be my indicator. So if the scale went up, I would do more days the next week. If the scale was level, I would only do 1 or 2 days a week, and I stayed at 153 pounds for 4 years. And in general, the days that I did that, I felt amazing. My inflammation
Mm,
felt better, my joints felt better until the spring of last year. Something with that stopped working for me, right? And I'm not demonizing that. I'm not saying what I think happened is I think, honestly, sorry, Dustin, but I think menopause, I think my sex hormones started to shift. My thyroid is going up and down, and I'm still working through that, right? I had a high TSH test and then a low TSH test, and they are testing all the other things. They are testing the I keep wanting to call them enzymes, but they're the two things that diagnose Hashimoto's have both come back clear both times. And then the reverse T3, reverse
good.
T4, or free T3, free T4. They're testing those. So, and then this last time it was normal. So I think there's some things going on in my body that maybe are related to food or maybe have nothing to do with food and more of age related stuff. So they worked until it
Mm,
didn't. But yes, Dustin, thank you for asking that question. It's not something you want to do every day because I believe that could in itself elevate stress and cortisol in the body. It's just it might be a stressor on the body. So yes, thank you for asking that question. Um, and Julia, I don't know if you have anything to add about
No,
what I was doing.
I'm just thinking how, and I know it's cliche, how just so different we are. Um, I guess I'm talking about myself again, but what I found really interesting is, my ketone levels sometimes are very high, and that's not necessarily after being carnivore 18 months and I really haven't cheated or anything. Um, always a good thing. And my glucose is okay. And upon further research, and a lot of it is it's not Dr. Google. It's, I'm a Dr. Ben Bickman fan
Mhm.
through and through. And admittedly, I will have to play a video, I like the point 0.8 level, take notes, replay it. But I'm learning as a lean mass hyperresponder, which is normally lean people in general, which I've always been, and athletic, which I'm not athletic, but I
Yes,
go
you
to the
are.
gym. That their it's not necessarily again a good thing. Their ketone levels tend to be much higher, and
Mhm.
for some of us with these basic backgrounds, how it's not always a good thing, and fasting is not always a good thing for my body. And then I felt like, yay, because I'm the only non-faster in the carnivore community, or so it feels. I eat my 3 squares and everything, but it just brought me back to how complex sometimes the answers are. And I know it sounds like I'm trying to, if you need a coach, call Amy. I'm not trying to sell my coaching as much as if if it wouldn't have taken me a year and a half to learn some of these things that I have been confused about or worried about, if I had a coach Amy or coach Dustin
Right.
to begin with. And I mean, I have no regrets, but when people say, well, I'm carnivore, I don't need a coach, and maybe you don't, and that's good. Maybe, whatever your diet, but man, would it have saved me so much.
1000%. I mean, I made so many mistakes over 8 years. Well, maybe not mistakes, but just
Yeah,
learning
learning.
learning experiences that I don't
Yeah,
regret. But, like, if
yeah.
I woulda had a Dustin or a Juliet, like you said, uh,
My
someone who's been through
cortisol
it
would have been
before.
down and from
Yes.
worrying about what's this? Why is this happening? Why is it not happening to Dustin, but it's happening to me? What am I doing right? All that sort of stuff.
Well, and even Nisha, I think, and Kim Howerton said even coaches need coaches too. I think one of them, or it might have been Alyssa, I can't remember which one, but they even said coaches. So nobody is beyond working with a coach, honestly. And if they are, then, you
Mhm.
know, but okay, so let's move on. Oh, here's a good one. For someone just starting a low carb, keto, or carnivore lifestyle, Do you, in your opinion, do you think stress can temporarily increase because of the change of the lifestyle? And we'll start with you, Dustin. Do you think that changing the lifestyle could temporarily increase that? And how would you recommend managing that transition?
Of course, I think anytime you make major life changes, there's going to be stress. And there's good stress, there's bad stress. And I think when it comes to the changes that you make for a lifestyle switch, like switching to carnivore, keto, what have you, there's going to be stress of, am I doing it right? There's going to be stress of, okay, now I've got to learn how to eat new things. I remember when I first started just looking at my plate and there was the stress of there's something missing on my plate. What's missing on my plate? Oh, it's missing the rice or the macaroni and cheese. It's missing the starches. It's missing the mashed potatoes. Um, you know, I think, stress and cortisol is going to play a major role in that shift. Hopefully there will be some positive stress involved. I think there's as your body starts to acclimate to the new lifestyle and you become a little better versed in it, and you've learned to simplify your lifestyle, and you've kind of start to hone that in. I think then really that stress can start to come down. And the positive stress in that is you're getting more exercise, you are kind of eating with more purpose. You are, seeing and experiencing these personal growth challenges and things that you're doing, because most people are not starting just to start there. Now they're going to do a triple B&E challenge. They're going to do a 90-day carnivore challenge. And so they're seeing this personal growth. So I think that some of that positive stress and the negative stress can kind of counterbalance each other, and really does help play that out. But I think if you're kind of doing it on your own without a community, without looking for answers on YouTube or
Mhm.
wherever you get your information, I think then the negative stress can truly impact you in a bad way and cause you to fall off and quit and give up.
We can. And your thoughts, Juliet? Thank you, Dustin, for
You
that.
know,
That was very insightful.
Dustin said it perfectly. I really, if I add anything, I'm just talking to talk, so I'll leave it be. Perfect.
Okay. I have one thing to add to that. And I am the person when I first started 8 years ago, and I will never forget how I felt, because I felt my cutting out the foods and going, and I did it wrong when I cut it out. I was doing, again, lean. I don't know why. I don't know what, probably the low fat girl in the 90s, having Susan Powder shoved down my throat, and books bought for me, and being athletic, and coaches telling me I was fat at 145 pounds at 5'11, stuff like that just really resonated with me. And the getting rid of the eat the fat makes you fat mentality, you know, still was there. It still probably is there. I'm not gonna lie. It's still like this eating fat just still doesn't. It's like I have to tell myself out loud. But oh, and I just lost my train of thought. To add to that, I was the person who felt terrible because I went from eating sad diet to eating lean keto, like grilled chicken breasts, and not putting fat on not putting butter on the broccoli, and I was steaming it, and it was, I was eating low fat, probably salad dressing still and stuff like that when I first started. And so the electrolyte imbalance and the keto flu for me, I remember feeling like every part of my body hurt, and, I remember feeling like the I wonder if I can even say it, homicidal, like I was either gonna hurt myself or someone else because I felt
Wait,
so terrible. I felt that terrible when I first started, but I knew it worked because I did Atkins 20 years ago. I did Atkins, so I knew this worked. But I just remember when I went keto, I'm like, "This is horrible, I feel horrible," and I didn't know about electrolytes because this was 8 years ago. I mean, Dr. Berry and all of the people were just starting their stuff on social media, so there was nobody to work with. I was just going based off of what I did 20 years ago, and I'm telling you, I think had I known that you have to replenish your electrolytes, and maybe get some exercise, some movement in, yes. Um, if I had known about that, that probably would have saved me some of my anguish. So if anyone is starting new, I highly recommend getting a good clean electrolyte. And honestly, I'm probably not going to shame you if you go to the store and even pick up liquid IV. There's some, I think, uh, undesirable sugars in there, but even if that's all you can do is go to the store and pick up some sugar-free liquid IV, I mean, that's a start, right? Or now I know we all probably recommend the cleaner, salty, salter, element. I say element T. I don't know why, but those are some of the more, in my opinion, brands. But even if you throw a pinch of salt in a glass of water, you're gonna get some benefit to just that. And again, I don't wanna shout myself out, but I do have a do it yourself electrolytes, and I think a lot of us probably do. I think Mitch has one. I think Two Crazy Ketos might have one too, but you can even make your own electrolytes too if you don't wanna go out and spend the money for the name brands. You can order some ingredients on Amazon and do it yourself, and it's cheaper. I also do that, in conjunction with using those, but I think the electrolyte balance, not having when you and correct me if I'm wrong, coaches, but when you first start out on this lifestyle, you start to lose a lot of water. A lot of water with inflammation starts to exit your system, and with that, your potassium, your salt, and your, magnesium flush out with that, and so that's what causes the feeling that I had when I first started. And honestly, I know family members who fear having salt because their cardiac doctors have told them, and I was told by my doctor when I had high blood pressure to not, um, replenish salt, and I've had family members who had, hyponatremia, which is a deadly condition where your salt gets so low, and they cannot just raise that immediately. They can't just they have to do it slowly because they could kill you if they raise your sodium too high. I've had one friend and a family member be in the hospital for a week in serious condition by not having salt in their system. So, again, not medical advice, but just things that I've seen with people that electrolytes are crucial. So that's one thing I want to mention because I think had I had done that in the beginning, things would have been different for me and I would not have felt so horrible. So that's the other thing I would recommend. Boy, guys, we're almost getting to the end of the hour. Uh I'm going to ask another question. And I think we touched on some of this. But I want to re-emphasize this because I think this is important. How important are mindset and emotional regulation in regards to managing stress, and what tools do you recommend? We'll start with you, Dustin. What tools do you recommend? And I know all three of us have a lot of stress in our lives. We talk about it all the time, whether it's our jobs, our family life. But what tools, Dustin, do you recommend to help manage the stress if we can't get rid of the stress, right? If we can't eliminate it because it's our family or it's our jobs and it's not, what would you recommend to do as a tool?
For me, I mean, it's an extra 5 minutes in the car. It's, I get home and I've, picked up the granddaughter from school or I've gone to the grocery store or whatever. It's, it kind of goes back to, it almost kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the screen time and how, how we don't account for all of it. But just that, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, extra in the car, whether it's
Mhm.
before you go into the grocery store, you get there, you're like, all right, let's prepare for this. Let's, get home. Just that a little bit of alone time, I think, is huge for me. I know a lot of the stress that I have is being in a house full of 8 people, and
Can
and
imagine that.
we had been empty nesters, and now we have 8 people living in our house. So that's that, and it's not a sudden shift, but still a shift over time. But just having that little bit of alone time, coming into my bedroom and my little space here, which is inside our bedroom, Just having little pieces like that, whether, breathing exercises for me. I don't necessarily journal, but I think like journaling is important, but I do prep for my live streams and I kind of
Mhm.
get my thoughts out for my live streams and kind of build what I'm going to talk about kind of based on what's bothering me that week. So I think
Mhm.
that's a big piece of it. I probably could walk more. I don't walk enough, but yeah, I think for me the biggest piece is just finding time for me by
Mhm.
myself, quiet, whether it's listening to a book or just sitting in silence or a little bit of music, something just for me.
Absolutely. That's great advice. And you, Julia, what is your, um, you know, tools that you would recommend, maybe that you use yourself for managing stress when you can't eliminate the stress?
I could only speak for myself, and I love Dustin's answer, and in a lot of ways, I feel like I'm the opposite in the sense. I'll tell you what I did recently that brought me great relief. I sat with my husband, pen to paper, and mapped everything out. Where's my time going? With the different businesses and YouTube and what I like to call my day job, my paying job. And as you know, because we're great friends, Amy, my concerns about the stress at my paying job and everything. But I'm a pen to paper. I'm a visual learner, even for my own self. And when we did that and sort of mapped it, not wake up at 6 a.m., go to the bathroom, rest. Now, I don't mean that, but what activities am I doing that don't benefit me, whether it be spiritually, emotionally, um, starting slowly a new business? I've really learned to really slow that down as in my mind, like on the time when it happens, we'll pick up, could take 3 months, 5 months, a year. It is what it is. So I think that helped me, and really the past now has to be about 10 days ago, I have felt the immediate stress relief and cortisol because I did cut out certain things for me that were wasting my time, um, and just causing stress. So that's the one thing I did that just the impact was so huge, and it still is today. I wake up every day going, "I just can't believe I didn't do this sooner." Like, get rid of this activity or stop wasting time here,
Yep.
things like that.
I do that, but I do it reverse. So
Mm.
you're writing the things down that are uh time wasters or time sucks is the best
Pulling
way
my
to say it.
energy. Yeah.
I use a list of all the things that I need to get done.
Mm.
And part of it's because I'm 50 years old. I know that sounds like Barbara,
I'm
but
50
again,
years
Barbara,
old.
I'm 50 years old
You're a
and
youngster, Amy.
I can't well, I'm also the hormones are affecting
Yeah,
my brain a little bit at this
I
age. You're
remember.
past that, so there's hope for me.
Yeah.
But like I'll like, oh, I got to do this, and then I walk into the room. I'm like, what did I come in here to do? I'm in that part of my life right now. So the minute I
Mhm.
think of something, I write it down. I have a daily to do checklist on my iPhone, just using their checklists, and then and a lot of it's more than what I can complete in a day, but then it can get done the next day, so it's still on the list. And so I check the things off as I get them done. And then that helps me not do things that I shouldn't be time wasters, right? And
Okay,
a lot
yeah.
of times I know you guys see me in the live streams all the time, but a lot of times while I'm in the live streams, I'm doing those things
Mhm.
that on my checklist. So it's habit stacking. Like you guys, watching the live streams are my relaxation, and then I'm doing the things on the checklist. So that helps me. The time management part, uh, when you work a full-time job, you sing in two choirs. I have rehearsals 2 nights a week in choral groups. You help me, take care of a 94-year-old with dementia. My parents hate when I say this, but they live next door and I like to spend time with them. They're still self-sufficient, thank goodness at this point. But eventually, they're 81, so eventually they may need help with care, and I'll have to delve into that too. And then starting a business, a YouTube channel, That is enough, I think. That's more than enough for one person to manage. So in order to and then I have like 5 calendars, and I wish I could do like one calendar. Luckily 3 or 4 of them are in Google. So, but I'm constantly checking all the calendars to make sure I don't miss something, right?
Mhm.
And that just in itself is insane. But, I'm always putting reminders, like, popping up in my phone. Unfortunately, when you're like one of us, you have to have a digital thing, you know? I envy the people who have a desktop calendar. That's not me. I have to have something punch me in the face to remind me that I've got something at a certain time, and, so I love the way that you do it. You write down all of the things that take pull you away from the things you need to be doing. And
Right.
I'm the opposite. I keep focused on the things I need to be doing and I check them off as I do them. And hopefully when coaching clients, I'm going to be able to give them tools to if their stress is because they're not able to get things done because sometimes that causes stress. That I'll be able to give them tools to manage their time better. And I think that's part of coaching too. Okay, we're almost at the hour. I promised I would keep this at
Mhm.
an hour. I actually, Juliet submitted a question, and I think this is an amazing question. And Dustin, you or I probably can't speak to this too much because we're newbies in coaching. But I think it would be important for any new coach to hear this question and probably for you and I to hear it too, because I just thought this was amazing. Um, okay, so Juliet, you started before us actually coaching
Just
clients.
a little bit, yeah.
And what have you learned since starting coaching last December? Because you indicated you made a lot of mistakes. I already am coaching a couple of people or have started coaching a couple of people and I catch myself after the meeting. I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I say that? I don't think this is what we were told, but it just happened. And I know Alyssa, Nisha, and Kim said that they learned a lot of things when they started. So what you know, expert advice can you impart on new
Oh,
coaches and mistakes that you've made?
it's not expert advice, but I remember one day I was talking to you, nagging you over Messenger, don't do this, don't. And I had to step back and say, wait a second, this is coming from all the things I did wrong. Uh, I think the initial is the mindset that you have your first client, and for me I was very nervous, and nerves are okay. I mean, that's normal. Like before you go on stage and speak and you end up do or play piano on stage as you did, you're
Yes.
nervous,
Oh, yeah.
but part of that nervousness was questioning my own abilities. And since we are so highly trained in our classes, a little nervous. Why if they ask me exactly how cholesterol works, how do I was too much in my head and not in my trust the process. Um, that confidence thing. Wait, I don't know this. I don't. What am I gonna? And somehow you get through those first couple of clients, and and I don't mean to say this in a mean way. You realize how much experience we do have.
Right.
All of us on the panel, all of our training, and how I have people that start that don't know what macros even are, and that's okay. I
Right.
didn't either years ago. I didn't know what macros were. I mean, who knows this stuff? And so overthinking it, being too nervous, and that self-doubt. It's okay to have those thoughts, but you need to let them pass and trust. You have learned a lot. And if you're watching, I've been in these KILTS courses and and we practice coaching each other, and we are each other's coaches, Amy.
Mm,
You
we are.
you get out of that mindset, and if you're a praying person, I think it was, Kim or, Elisa or one of our coaches, just take that breath before. If you're a praying person, I just trust that God will give you the right things to say, or
That's
whatever
awesome.
your belief is, and it happens. The second thing, and I nag you about this, I'm telling you, the things that did not work out are the clients, and there were
Right.
2 I did for free. One of them was asked as a favor, and I didn't have it in me to say no. And my experience is you will waste a lot of time and energy and your heart wanting someone to succeed that both of they didn't have their whys, uh, that both disappeared without notice. You know,
Yep.
it was free, and really ended up me being upset with myself for doing it. And I
Mhm.
know it's tough, and we all have those free intro calls. And you know, honestly, I had someone the other day, carnivore 2 years. I was able to answer his questions in 20 minutes and say, "Sayonara." And I literally said, "You don't need me. You sound like you are doing
Right.
wonderful." I didn't say it, but I thought you're doing better than I am. You know, but I think those are the two main ones I learned. Your time is valuable. We spend a lot of money and time learning to coach and coaching clients. And other than the intro, if possible, try not to do the freebies or give a lot of your extra time in a client coaching situation.
And that's what I'm doing now. I have
It's
where
hard.
something was supposed to be 30 minutes or 1 hour, it's gone an hour or 2 hours just because I wanna help that person so
I
much
know.
right off the bat.
I
My
know.
my my want
Yes.
to help people supersedes my
Yes.
own personal time and money. You know what I'm saying? Like, that
Yes.
this has never been about money for me, although it's starting to be a little bit because starting a business is
Yeah.
extremely expensive, and
Beyond
so it's
expensive.
like I have to get over that, I think, of I gotta at least cover the costs
It
starting
comes
a
with time. You'll
business.
do it a few times because of that desire.
Mhm.
And that's what makes you so wonderful. And we want to help and, you know, give, but I know myself very well. I would become resentful and angry at
Yeah,
myself for, okay, now you are doing another time waster. No, it's not wasting time, I hope, for them, but now you're adding, not taking away
another
from your
fear
health.
is what you mentioned.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
what if
Normal.
someone hires me that has been carnivore for 15 years and here I am, I've been only, you know, what if they're like up here and I'm down here? How do you That's a fear of mine, and I know it's probably
Thinking,
gonna be rare, and
thinkings.
like you said, you're like, it's okay to refer them to somebody else, maybe,
But what they
like
know has no bearing on what you can help them with.
Good point,
that's
Desmond.
true. That is true.
Listen to
Because
him.
there's
Him.
something everybody is different, and even though someone may have more experience than you, you may have a tool that they haven't tried yet or they don't know about, or the like I said, the time management thing. Maybe somebody's really good with the food, but they're terrible at time management, and that's what's holding them back, and that's where I'm gonna be their coach. The time
I mean,
management, you know
also they've been doing carnivore say 15 years, and maybe carnivore's not right for them anymore.
well,
Exactly.
that's true.
You know, have they
That's
tried to
true.
add back in some you know,
Yeah,
whatever, you
I know
know,
that could be
and
heresy in the carnivore community, but I think as a coach, we have to be resigning
open.
in the thing that carnivore may not always be right. Keto may not always be right.
right?
Someone may need
Exactly.
to revert and start with a single ingredient whole food diet
Yep,
that may include some rice, that may include some potatoes, whatever. I
Yep.
think we have to be
100%.
there for them and what they want and what they need, at least what they think they want and what they think they need. And we're there to help guide them and just kind of help them get out of their own way and not put our own biases in place.
I love that, Dustin. That's so true. And I
I
think that's
love
what I
that
was getting
too.
at the beginning. I don't consider myself a carnivore coach, although that's what we attract on the Kilts. Amy and I are health
Mhm.
Kilts health coaches as well, and others will be joining. But in my own business, it's not labeled, you know. And you know, a couple of people are just going lower sugar, lower processed foods, or no processed foods. I mean, that's a low carb diet, you know, in essence, and that works for most. And going beyond that is just too much. They don't need that to experience some of the health benefits. And not everybody comes to us with type 2 diabetes and this and then and the list of issues. Some are fine. They just are, you know, overweight and want to lose a few pounds and feel better.
And the other thing is I put lifestyle in my company or in my business name for a
Smart.
reason
Yeah.
because people are also freaking out about like the price of meat and shopping. And I have tech tools to teach on how to find deals on stuff. And so, like, it's not just about the eating, it's about the stress management, it's about the sunshine, it's about the exercise. Well, and Juliet's the only one on the panel that is actually a fitness coach, but we can, I think there are ways that we can recommend getting more movement and making time and time management, like I said, shopping tips for those people on a budget. There's so many things that we can do as coaches that aren't just like, here's the macros, eat this, not that. There's so many things that
Yeah.
we can help people with to kind of overcome or manage things that are overwhelming them. A lot of it's just about being overwhelmed and then not feeling well because the processed foods and the seed oils are,
Yeah.
in my opinion, in the brain, and it's making it hard to figure
Mhm.
things out on your own. And that's what a health coach does, is that they sit there and talk with you and listen and help you figure out small sustainable changes. In my opinion, that's what
Yeah.
it's about.
I should also add, I don't know why it's necessary, but I do not do personal training online. My personal belief is you go for any app for that. I don't do it online because I can't watch someone's form, make sure they're safe, figure out the right, some of at the gym, people come at age 50, 60, never having worked out. And we just start with, not even full squats, so personally, again, personal opinion, I don't do online
I
stuff.
think
I
that's
don't see
good.
the
Yeah.
benefit of that to anyone personally.
All right, guys. Well, this has been an awesome talk. I'm keeping my promise to keep it at or around an hour, and I appreciate you
Mhm.
guys being the first cohort for this coaching seminar. I plan to do more, not all the time, but like maybe once a month, just bring some coaches on here and discuss a topic. Just because I think it's, we have been given a blessing and a lot of knowledge in these courses that we have taken. And I think it's part of our responsibility not to share them privately with our coaching clients, but also maybe to share them publicly with the general, community population in hopes that it'll help somebody and also new people to the community, which surprisingly, I have come across a lot of new people entering the community. It's, a same old characters, but we have had a few people, come into the community recently. And I think it's our duty and our obligation to share what we know to help others outside of our private coaching session. So I just wanted to extend my appreciation and gratitude to both you, Dustin and Juliet, for coming on and giving some amazing insight to this
Mhm.
topic of stress and cortisol. And we'll do it again sometime. So thank you. And I think that's
Thank
going to be
you.
all for today. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Amy.